Kim, it is a joy to have another person on the topic of hope. Many of you probably have colleagues within your own communities and friends who have determined that there is no way that we can do anything. This morning I had breakfast with somebody who was already talking in the past tense about how we were going to be living under Trump. I can't tell you how hard this is for some of us, but I really look forward to Kim sharing with us. She is a Methodist minister by training, a Stanford University undergrad, a Yale Divinity School graduate. She has left pulpit preaching, as in being a full-time minister, to focus on galvanizing us to do what we can about climate change. You have ideas. She has a galvanizing set of ideas to help you hold on when the going gets tough. So, Reverend Horning-Marcy, welcome, and we look forward to your words.
Thank you. It is such a joy and honor to be with all of you today. And I have looked at your mission statements. You have good goals in your mission statements to reduce greenhouse gases at your residences. And I'm so happy to see work on local, state, and national policy. And I understand you specifically maybe encourage working with Third Act and the Citizen Climate Lobby. This is all great. We're all on the same team. The challenges are real, but there are also many solutions and a rising tide of people like you working on the solutions. So I hope to give you reasons for hope and reasons to keep at the work that we all are doing to turn the tide on climate change. Institutions and governments are not famous for making changes quickly. So perseverance is a climate activist superpower. I bet, and I think it's a safe bet, that all of you have had to develop perseverance at some point in your life. So here's a good summary of our problem from James Speth. He's a Rhodes Scholar. He's an environmental lawyer. He helped found NRDC, National Resource Defense Council, and he also led the Forestry and Ecology Department at Yale. Mr. Speth says, I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought that 30 years of good science would address these problems. I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with these, we need a cultural and spiritual transformation. Now, no wonder working on climate progress is not simple or easy. What we are about is transformation of ourselves and our states and country and residences. This is a big task. And so thank goodness we're not doing this alone. So first, let's look at what motivates us. Let's explore what our hope is based on. Love, our values, experience plus our choices bring wisdom, and the privilege and responsibility of living in a Western democracy. With the right motivations and healthy communities, we will be fine because we will have hope and the resources we need to stick with the actions that bring results. I'm going to repeat that. With the right motivations and healthy communities, we will be fine because we will have hope and the resources we need to stick with the actions that bring results. The most important motivation, number one, is love. Love may not make the world go round, but it sure makes the trip more fun. So, love for family and friends, love for the beautiful world we live in, love for all the creatures and ecosystems we treasure. We want as much as possible to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, especially in the next 5 to 10 years. Yes, the issue is urgent. Whatever we do, though, to reduce greenhouse gases makes a difference and inspires others. Let our love for all the humans and all the critters and creatures we care about be our number one motivation. Motivation number two, our values, which come from your faith system that you adhere to and or your moral philosophy that guides you. Love, friendship, community, hope, fairness, justice, service. These are all basic values in all the world religions and all the moral philosophies. So I want to encourage you to do the things that strengthen where your values come from. Is that meditation or meditation and prayer? Is that time to take a walk in nature? Is it worship? Is it service? Is it reading scriptures or reading inspirational books, or maybe a combo of all of the above? Make time to refresh your values so they support you. No one can work nonstop on anything. We need time to reflect and recharge. Schedule time in your day and schedule time in your week for reflection, where you ask yourself, what do I want more of? What we want more of is what we will focus time, talent, and treasure on. Our most important values lead us to wise hope. Wisdom does not turn away from challenges, but sees them as a call to step up and be part of the solution. Yes, we have known for too long. Yes, we have delayed too long. But there is another wise saying that goes, don't look back unless that's the direction you're going in. Just in the past 10 years, we've made tremendous advances. It wasn't that long ago when the climate scientists were saying we were headed for 5 to 6 degrees centigrade over pre-industrial global average temperature. Now they're reducing that. They're saying we're heading for 3 to 1.5. That's too much. We're flirting with 1.5, but more and more people are seeing the climate disasters, the trillions of dollars being spent on these. We have Nobel Prize winners who are telling us that it's cheaper to solve the problem than just ignore it. And so we have lots of good things working for us, even in the dire situation we are in. And more people joining climate activism. For people of hope, giving up is not an option. In our lifetimes, we have seen many positive problems, extreme challenges overcome. The world defeated Hitler. We rejected Jim Crow and segregation. We're still working on racism, but we're making progress. We're talking about it much more. We've gotten rid of DDT. That was a big thing when I was a teenager. We got off the refrigeration methods that are killing the ozone. We reduced acid rain with EPA regulations. We came up with a vaccine for COVID in record time. Yes, we have many problems still to solve. You may be inspired by some other particular success in history. Let the successes of human history inspire your current efforts. Wisdom leads to action, not apathy. And action is the best antidote to despair. Wisdom also asks us to look at what we can do. We can't change the past. We can't control the future. The only thing we can control is ourselves right here and now, and all those we influence. Be motivated by what you can control. If you model perseverance, glass half full, we can do this, here's a success, then you'll get more of that. If you model doom and gloom, you'll get more of that. Motivation number 3. Rumor has it that we can grow in wisdom as we age, but it's a choice. It's not a guarantee. In my mind, wisdom combines knowledge with insight from our experiences and from the philosophies of life and or faith systems that we follow. I want to tell you a story about a pastor who wrote up one of his experiences. He was sitting in his church office, and opposite him was a young farm wife who was sobbing. She sobbed for a long time, and for good reason. Her young husband had just been killed in a farming accident, and she had 4 little kids. After a while of sobbing, for a good reason, she looked up at the pastor and she said, I have a choice, to get bitter or to get better. For the sake of my kids, I'm going to get better. Let her insight inspire all of us. The longer we live, and it is a privilege to live the many years we've been able to live, but the longer we live, the more we can be tempted by bitterness. So use our resources to develop wisdom, which always leads us to hope. Motivation number 4. Most of us on this call enjoy quite a bit of privilege. Now, here's a fun fact. If you earn or have access to $38,000 a year, you are in the top 10% of wealth globally. And I would suspect most of us have access to and earned way more than that when we were working. And we live in a Western democracy. Yes, democracy is struggling more than I would like to admit, but we can all still vote, and we have a lot of freedom, and voting matters. Activist Greta Thunberg says, I'm so glad I live in a democracy. If I lived in China, I'd be in jail. So here's our motivations. Number 1 is love. Number 2, our values from our moral philosophy or our faith system that we follow, the opportunity to be truly wise and live that wisdom with hopeful action, and 4, the amazing serendipity that we are alive right now and in a Western democracy with more wealth, freedom, and education than over 90% of the rest of the world. Now I want to give you some practical tips on healthy communities. You're part of a healthy community. And so whether it's educating others, working to reduce greenhouse emissions at your residence, or working for good policy, do it as a healthy group. Discouragement is very normal when facing a big task, but it helps no one. When you are involved with a community that cares for you, you have friends who you can kvetch with and they can buck you up. If you need to step out for a break, and I especially encourage a break from the news if you need it. The news is focused on guilt, shame, and terror. That's their focus. That's not our focus. Our focus is what we can do. So healthy groups, so important. As climate activists, we want to treat everyone we're working with and everyone we're trying to influence with the kinds of ways we want the world to be. So that means no matter how someone else is behaving, we don't use manipulation, guilt, or shame. These things backfire. Thank people for their service in your administration and public officials. Talk up the positive. Affirm those around you. Invite others to join you. Don't stoop to methods of super anger or name calling or insulting people. And the lone wolf is not what we want to be about. Recently, someone I know was in a group meeting for another organization and was astounded when a person moving far away handed the group a 2-page typed list of all the things she had been doing for that particular group. And she sheepishly admitted to the group, it was easier for me to do it myself than to call someone else for help. No lone wolf. What is easy is not what is best. Add in time to recruit others, to affirm others, and to mentor others. Be aware that that takes time too, but it's time well spent. We won't solve this without a bigger and bigger movement. And we need every person, all hands on deck. If we're going to build power, we can't do it by ourselves. So who are you inviting in? Who are you mentoring? Factor all this in. It's far better to be developing more and more people and more leaders than to do it yourself. Redefine success. It's not what you do. It's how many others you mentor and inspire and invite in. Everyone invites someone. Does your group have a plan for inviting new people? New people often do best being asked to do something small that they can succeed at. But it is also a good technique for groups to have your friendly folks, your extroverts who enjoy talking to others, have them meet with new people for a coffee, a walk, a chat, get to know them. What are their interests? What are their skills? What are their abilities? What do they want to do? When someone new shows up at your meeting, 350 Vermont, we always allow that person 3 minutes to share what brought them in. And we learn from that. We learn what brings people in. It's different for different people. Model caring in your meetings. In 350 Vermont, we always begin our meetings with 3 to 5 minutes, not a lot of time, but 3 to 5 minutes with an open-ended question where everyone responds. What was the highlight of your week, of your month? What's your favorite season? What's your favorite food? One word or one sentence. You're not taking a lot of time, but you're modeling everyone speaking. We also start bigger meetings with lots of people or newer people with reminding, if it's easy for you to talk, monitor yourself. Are you allowing others to speak? If you're a quiet person, find it hard to talk, push yourself to talk. Good facilitators are watching who's participating. Has everyone weighed in on a topic? But the rest of the group members need to monitor this too. A facilitator may need to say, okay, on this, I need to hear from the people we haven't heard from, and allow people you haven't heard from to speak. Are you staying on task in meetings? Again, facilitators and everyone else needs to help the facilitator. Are we drifting off topic? Stay on task. If it's bogging down with too many questions, too many details, delegate to a smaller task of 2 to 3. Not everyone may need to know that the teeny tiny detail of every project. So delegate that so your meetings stay to no more than an hour and a half. Do you have term limits for your leadership? In Methodist churches and in 350, there are term limits for those in leadership positions. Fresh people, fresh ideas. No one can do it forever. And that makes sure that those in leadership are also thinking, do we have a vice chair for this? Do we have someone in mind for taking minutes or this if the person regularly doing it can't do it? So you're mentoring, you're inviting, you're making sure everyone's participating, and you will just be generating more hope and effectiveness. We've discussed hope, love, wisdom, our amazing privileges, and how to have healthy groups. I'm so thrilled to be on this climate fighting team with all of you. This is the biggest task humanity has ever had to tackle, but here we are, and it's our task. What are your questions?
Wow.
Fantastic, Kim. Thank you so much.